American science slips into dangerous decline, experts warn, while Chinese research surges. In a first-ever State of the Science address at the end of June, National Academy of Sciences President Marcia McNutt warned that the U.S. was ceding its global scientific leadership to other countries, highlighting China in particular. McNutt, a widely respected geophysicist, said this slippage could make it harder for the U.S. to maintain the strength of its economy and protect its national security. She also laid out a provisional plan of action to reverse the decline. The June 26 speech served as a scientific parallel to the State of the Union address by the U.S. President and came from the chief of a body originally chartered to provide nonpartisan advice on science and technology to the nation's government. It surveyed the strengths and weaknesses of the current scientific landscape and underscored an urgent need for a new coordinated approach to research and development. It's critically important we keep shouting this message from the rooftop, says Carrie Wallenetz, a science policy expert who has previously advised the White House and the National Institutes of Health. Similar sentiments have circulated in policymaking circles for a few years now, she points out, but they have yet to gain traction among government officials and members of the public. In her address, McNutt presented a flurry of figures that indicated a slump in American science. The U.S. has a declining share of the most cited science papers, for instance, and the rate at which new drugs and technologies hit the market has flatlined over the past several decades. The U.S. still spends the most money out of any other country on research and development, but China is set to soon outpace those investments. China currently files more patents than the U.S. and hosts more than a quarter of the world's clinical trials, as compared to only 3% in 2013. U.S. science is perceived to be, and is, losing the race for global STEM leadership, McNutt said. A country's strength in science, she argued, shapes its defense capacities as well as its ability to spread its values abroad. McNutt suggested that the country's failure to innovate and stay ahead ran counter to its history. In the decades after World War II, the U.S. achieved widespread excellence in the sciences by investing heavily in both basic and applied research and soliciting foreign talent. Landmark institutions, such as the National Science Foundation and NASA, emerged during this period, as did the country's pattern of dominating the Nobel Prizes. Then, as federal investment dipped in the 1980s, the scientific landscape grew more complex and difficult to coordinate. Companies and philanthropies began funding and conducting greater portions of research and development. This shift affected which scientific questions were addressed, how they got answered, and what forms of knowledge entered the public arena. Public math and science proficiency fell during the 1980s as well, bringing fewer Americans into the STEM workforce. Of utmost importance, McNutt emphasized, was improving K-12 STEM education. By international standards, American students perform in the middle of the range in science. They are below average in math. She noted that foreign-born individuals play a key role in maintaining U.S. STEM prowess, accounting for 19% of the nation's STEM workforce and 43% of its STEM Ph.D. population. This is a cause for concern, McNutt said, because as other nations rise in the ranks, the U.S. will need to compete with them for talent. McNutt recommended that schools nurture students' innate curiosity for science and use technologies such as AI to ease the teaching burden. Too often, she said, students in large classes are taught to view science as a collection of facts rather than a process of discovery. To maximize the return on current research investment, the U.S. could benefit from more coordination, she added. The European Union and China both have strategic research visions that help them meet specific goals. The U.S. could develop such a plan to patch gaps left by local priority setting, she said, and industries and universities could establish partnerships to both advance research and make academia more financially sustainable for students of all backgrounds.